Hello everybody, and welcome to Elden Ring. Erdtree here is ready to guide you through your first hours of the game. It should be pretty fun. Before we begin though, before we press finish down there at the bottom, I just want to go through the character classes that we have available to us at the beginning. Now, my first playthrough was with the Wretch, and well, that was interesting. Do not do this for your first playthrough. Unless of course you really enjoy the idea of like having the game feel like a survival game, as well as being a Dark Souls game for the first few hours of the game. It was certainly challenging. But now let's take a look at these. So effectively what I have at the top here is the Vagabond. This is the what people will call the quality build. So this guy has rounded stats and will be using both strength and dexterity as his main means of damage. Each of these archetypes, by the way, is going to have their own weapons and items and other things that kind of they lean into. Also note that you can't really get it wrong. Don't go restarting entire characters as saves just because you decide you want to use a different weapon. Just spec into it. There is no real limit in the amount of levels that you can do, other than obviously getting every stat to 99. Just bear that in mind. So these are kind of leanings, right? Next up then we have the Warrior. This guy is a dex build, so these are generally going to be faster weapons that deal quick damage. We have the Strength build. This one is going to have slower attacks. It's going to deal more stun damage. You guys will see that as we get later into the video. It's going to have probably heavier armor and shields because of this. We have the Bandit, which seems to be aimed at the arcane stat, a little bit different. Obviously kind of edges in towards the dex there. Astrologer, the main caster build, and the Prophet, the main faith build. And then these last three are kind of like somewhere in between the other ones above. This is even more of a focused melee build. It's just kind of got some rejigged stats when you look at it compared to the Vagabond. So stat spread wise, these will probably end up fairly similar. The Prisoner becomes like a cross between a dex and intelligence build, and the Prophet is like a quality slash faith build. But for my purposes, we're going with the Mage. That is what everybody knows me for, and that is what we are going to be using. Okay then, so once the cutscene is finished, the first thing that I advise you to do if you are on PlayStation is to come in your messages, not your messages, your menu here, and remove all of this. Otherwise you'll find when you are pressing triangle a lot, you'll just do gestures and that's just going to get in your way. I just feel like it's a pretty good, nice little thing to do at the beginning. So here we are in what is the starter zone, I guess you would say. The creators doing their usual tricks. We are just going to pass down this way, and we're going to head on through the gate that you can see just ahead of us. Now I know it makes it a little bit skippy. I just don't want this episode to be too long. There's a lot that we could end up getting into, and I'm going to try and show at least one mechanic here, so that if you do start as the knight with a 100% shield, you may well stand a chance against this guy. But the mage not having such a good advantage. I'm going to show you now. So you can, oops, it's pretty much just going to kill me there anyway. Never mind. So I'll catch you on the other side of another cutscene. Okay then, so now that we are on the other side, it's time for us to take the tutorial area. We're going to do it because at the end you get a gesture, and this wouldn't be much of a walkthrough that's going to try and guide you through getting all of the items if we didn't go and grab it. Obviously, you will have now picked up the flasks, which I believe we should already have in our slots here. We can put other stuff in here if we wish to. But for now, these are absolutely fine. Should be pretty easy for you. So red and blue will refill their bars respectively. Red and blue bars. And to switch them, we just press down on your D-pad. And hopefully, even if you're on PC using a controller, because that's just how this game works better. Most often, we will... what's the word? Have the red one active. And by it being at the front, you can't really see right now because we don't have much down there. But basically, if I'm on blue and hold down, you saw it flash red there, it'll go back to the red one. So that's kind of how you want that to be. In addition, I feel like I didn't actually say this properly earlier, so we'll say it now. We took the golden seed as our first gift. There are some okay ones in there. The Stonesword Key is okay. But this is going to basically just get us an extra flask, and I feel like that is the most powerful starting gift. I should have said that earlier in the video, but we're we've said it now, so that's how that's going to be. So we're going to run through this tutorial area just here, rest at the site of Lost Grace. And once we've done that, we can now continue moving forward. Now I'm going to attempt to show the mechanic on this guy, come here, that I wanted to show on the boss. Now if we block and then press R2, we can get a very nice critical stance out of a lot of enemies. Now, the problem with the shield that we're currently using is that the physical negation on the right hand side just there is only 58. That's going to be bad. So we must replace our shield as soon as possible, and most 100% shields are going to be strength 10, so that's going to be a focus for this character specifically. For anybody not using a mage, you probably already have that amount of strength, and if you start with something like the Vagabond, then you may well already have one. It's a very powerful ability, especially on a lot of these early enemies, and especially if you are... He completely missed them. These first enemies are completely pathetic. You really don't need to face them, but you know, the extra few runes is handy. Just keep on moving forward. It's telling us we can run. Now, when I put the vote on the channel, people did say they wanted me to keep it whole, so maybe I should... it's like, maybe I should stop using the skips. So this guy is a pain in the ass. We can parry him, though, if he lets me. Or we can actually use the Godrick on him. Oh, that's what you're for. Come on then, attack me. Come on. Do you think? Can I aggro you yet? I'm just gonna... I'm just gonna circle around and backstab you. You're taking too long. Sorry about that. Oh no, you're not finished. There we go. He was just being annoying there. Too slow. Yes, we know we can change enemies. That's fine. Just really want to reiterate how cool this is. I'm sure some people are going to complain because, you know, in a lot of situations, that is going to be what we're using to our advantage. Mages should probably be doing this, though. We're obviously going to use that to our advantage against this guy. Come on. There we are. Nice and easy. Sometimes we can use skills. I don't even know if the dagger has a skill. It has a kick. Interesting. So, just so that people know, to change whether or not you are one-handing or two-handing a weapon, you need to hold... For me, it's triangle. I assume on the Xbox that makes it Y. I don't know what it will be on the PC, whatever that top button is on your computer. So, you can see that it's bringing up the menu in the bottom left there, and that's what's activating my ability to now change which weapon it is that I am two-handing. And basically what I need to do is press the weapon that would usually attack with it. So for that it's right bumper for the dagger and left bumper for the shield there. Depending on if you like dual wielding two different weapons, that could be useful for you. It's already spoken to us about sneaking, but this is kind of telling us more about it right here. Look, so we can sneak through the bushes and expect to be fairly well concealed most of the time. It's actually kind of cool how that works. Stance breaking. Okay, so let's see if we can show this. It's probably not going to work with this dagger. Oh, it does. Okay, so yeah, if you break... This is like an invisible meter on enemies, which works much in the same way as where we do the counterattack from blocking. Basically, if we can break down their, like... I guess you'd call it like guard meter or something like this. You can put them into a possible state, which allows you to get that critical. Pretty much every enemy in the game has a bar like this, and that's what makes heavy weapons so strong, because if you two-hand them, that boosts the amount of damage you do to it. The bigger and heavier the weapon is, the more damage it does to it, and then when you do the jump attack, that makes it even better. So you can be quite mobile and still get pretty good hits out with the heavy weapons by using that to your advantage. Hopefully I'm not talking too quickly. I know this is something that I'm guilty of. This guy should be like no problem at all for the mage. It's telling us to guard counter. Maybe we should do that. I wonder if it'll let me against this big guy. There we go. Shouldn't really be an issue. Get a few extra echoes out of it, which is handy. And now I can finally grab our gesture. Ooh, we have progressed. Okay, so we're going to head on up here this way now. Sorry, that door's taking a while. And then we have another site of grace to rest at. Now, I do pretty much advise resting in every site of grace, just because it can sometimes trigger things. And so this is a place where you can use one of the sword keys that you get early in the game. If you did pick that, don't use it here. This place is definitely intended for a little bit later in the game. There's no kind of early game bonuses that we can get out of going down there, so don't consider that a little bonus if you did pick that. At the top of the lift then, we can head on out into the world. Probably the quickest and least handholdiest way in which you can enter an open world game ever, just because, like, we didn't even need to do the tutorial area, so we probably could have been up here in like 5 minutes. So for those of you that like to do things quickly, this is going to be heaven for you. So we're going to talk to this guy first, actually, because it's probably quicker. So we're going to go over here and get through all of this guy's dialogue. Okay then, so with him spoken to and the site of grace rested at, we can move on to the next area, which is the church that you can just see over that way. Now the main barrier between us and that is this dude, and we are going to come back and we are going to torturously absolutely wreck him. Don't worry about it. There will be zero challenge in killing this guy later on. For now, however, we are going to give him a wide berth. We're going to go all the way to the right-hand side behind where you can see that ruin just there. Hopefully without him seeing me. Yeah, he's going to turn around over there. I feel like I should tell you to keep an eye out for these skulls. If their eyes are glowing, they will give you a small rune item, give you 200 extra runes, which is just handy, especially earlier on in the game, because that'll just be a nice little bit of currency. They give you it in item form as well, so you can kind of like build up a collection of them, and then when you feel like you just need a few extra runes, you can chomp on them and get that when you need it. So we've made our way around the horse boy, and we've made it to the church. Let's go on in here. Note the statue up top there. That's just basically going to show you where there is a cool cave. In fact, the cave that points at has 2 summons in it, but we can't use them right now, so don't worry about that too much. So go ahead, pick this up. We have 1 smithing stone out of it, but that's not enough to actually strengthen anything, so don't worry about that too much right now. And then we have our boy just here. I'm actually going to leave his in because if you actually ask him what you should buy, which is his recommendation, he's going to tell you to purchase the crafting kit, which is important, and we are going to want this later on because, well, the items that we craft from this, we are actually going to use to cheese horseboy. If you press square over the top of these, you can see the recipes that they'll give you, so that can give you kind of an idea as to whether or not you want them. So maybe if you've got a bow, and I can show you where to get a bow, fairly close by to here actually, but we'll leave that for a separate video because we want to be quick. Go ahead and you can make your arrows out of this. The other thing you could get, if you don't want to follow the long route that I'm going to put probably in the next episode, you could get yourself the torch. But I don't recommend buying the torch because we're going to get something else way better fairly shortly. So we're talking about the cracked pots. These are reusable receptacles. So when you buy this, you keep it and you'll fill it with like some craftable materials. Like for example, you could build a firebomb out of it, which kind of works as a grenade. And then it'll basically, you'll have to recraft it again, but you'll keep the pot. So these are quite important, especially if you like the idea of using like a consumable build, or like the idea of, you know, anything like that. We've got a shield here. I don't think this is, it's slightly better than the one we're using, but we're going to get one for free that actually has 100% physical resistance anyway. So maybe you want to get some armor, you could do that, but again, we can farm all of that up later on. So realistically speaking, not too much else that we want to get out of that. So next up from here, we are going to go ahead and rest at the grace. And now I can show you a cool little trick. So We don't actually have the map for this area yet, so we can see very little. It's all kind of just a blanked out nothingness. And on first glance, this looks like a really small map, right? It does in fact zoom out way further, but the map will basically grow as we discover new areas. Now, the cool trick that we can use here is these little tower, strange-looking markings here. That is where we're actually going to pick up the item that will uncover all of this for us. And if we mark that, we can actually just go ahead and follow it all the way to the next part that we need. Now, what I advise is, depending on what you want to get along this road, you can either come along the road here and do your best to sneak attack the guards, which is going to net you a few runes, may even drop you some of their loot. They can drop all of their armor. Erdtree was using it for quite a while, so if you want something a little bit heavier, feel free to kill a few of them. And over on this right hand side here we'll have like animals. These are going to drop things like bones, which you use to craft things like the bone arrows, or such things as, I'm trying to remember the wording now. just different stuff, right? It's going to be crafting materials. Now you can hear a bit of humming around here, and this is like a dung beetle. There are different colours. There are blue, red, and white. Red ones, these will actually restore our red flasks here. If I'm quick enough here and I can show you, you'll see that my red flask will go back to full if this dies. Wow, disappeared. There we go. It's now back up to full. Blue ones will replenish your blue flasks, and if you have a white one, that means it's going to drop a special item, such as an Ash of War. There's really not much we can say about that right now because we don't have one. Although you can actually get the item to apply them right here in this very camp. But now, though, we are just going to go off to the side here. And you really want to get through this area a little bit quick right now, because if it turns to nighttime, bats will start spawning over here where we are right now. And, oh, no. And they will basically just kind of annoy the hell out of you. Particularly if you don't have a ranged weapon yet, which is something that we will look at fixing shortly. As I was saying about the skulls here, I've managed to miss that. Boom, golden rune. So just make sure you're picking those up as you're going around. I don't know how kind of set their positions are, but they do seem to respawn fairly regularly. These golden looking plants here, Erd Leaf Flower, for every 2 of those you can create an item that allows you to do co-op with friends. So if you're a multiplayer person, just feel free to pick those up wherever you see them. They're all over the place, they're not particularly rare, so that's kind of cool. Especially if you are the kind of person who wants to play in multiplayer. Just be aware that if you play in co-op, you will be opening yourself up to invasions. So we're going to go ahead and grab the map fragment over there, which is what they're called. What we're going to do is we're going to sneak around the back. We might as well grab this loot just here whilst we're going over. That's on the other side. And the cool thing about this particular one is we can actually grab it from behind the stone pillar that it's kind of at the foot of. So we're just going to sneak our way around here so that we don't have to aggro all of these enemies while we're grabbing it. Be extra careful of that guy just there. He'll sound his horn, and everyone will come rushing to his aid if he happens to see you. Did you aggro? I think you did. Yeah, you did. It's just one. You poor guy. No real need in clearing this entire thing just yet, so we'll leave that for now, as we are about to unlock a few good things. So firstly, we're going to go ahead and we're going to rest here. We'll keep this rest in because we're about to see Melina. She's going to appear to us right now. Maybe we should skip this. I guess you guys don't need to see all the cutscenes.
Have you heard?
So now that we have Melina, we will say yes. I haven't actually tried. I've got like 3 or 4 characters now. I haven't actually tried to see what happens if you press refuse, but we're obviously not going to do that right now.
I bequeath.
That gives us our mount.
Use it. It will summon torrent. Treat him with.
And if you have enough runes, you can now level up. Obviously, I could probably use some of the items that we used to do this, but we're not going to. We can now use our flask upgrade from our tier, which is going to be good, and we can allocate the flasks as we see fit. I'm gonna split them evenly, but then when it's odd, have an extra one in health. Oops. Damn it. I'll press the right button eventually. You can change your spells here. It's probably not going to be relevant to many people at this point. And you can deposit stuff into the chest if there's anything that you'd like to store there. Just to kind of get it out of the way. It's up to you. I don't know why you would. You kind of have unlimited inventory space anyway. So that's just not a problem. The next thing that we are going to want to do, though, is we are going to want to travel back to the church.
May I have a word?
And we now have the lady that is going to allow us to use summons.
A pleasure. I am the witch.
And she's going to give us one of the best, which is kind of crazy. She's going to give us the wolf summon. It's quite expensive, so you will need a good amount of... Make sure you press the top option there. So you will need a good amount of FP to use them. But I think most of the classes stop with enough anyway. Once that's done, she's finished. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to unlock the ability to upgrade them and get another summon pretty much straight away. So for that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to Gatefront. So once we are here, we are going to do a few changes. So we have the pouch here, which, remember how I said earlier, we can press the button and that'll bring up the thing at the bottom left so that we can change whether or not we're two-handing weapons. Well, that also brings up some extra stuff down the bottom left there, which you can then use as quick use slots. And one of my favorites to put in the up slot is Torrent. And one of my favorites to put in the left slot is the wolves. And we're actually going to go ahead and put the next summon in the right there. The last one is reserved for the lantern, which we're probably going to get in another episode. But now, though, what we're going to do is we're going to jump on Torrent, and you're going to head through this gate. Now, be careful, there are a lot of archers in here, but what we're going to do is we're going to head up the right. You can see just about where that kind of fiery-looking flame is just here, and we are just going to run straight over this way. This works pretty well for me every time. Just coming over this right-hand side, and then we can just rush our way up the road. Don't worry too much about this guy. He's about to sound his horn. That's not a problem. We probably should have switched it to daytime, but I'll do that for the next episode now because we're getting over the 20-minute mark and I don't want to go over 25 minutes. We're going to hit this tree, which is another seed, which is going to be another flask. Obviously, it's going to be a mana one. We've got more multiplayer stuff here. Obviously, I won't be using that during the walkthrough. Don't worry about that. But I just figured I should show you guys that it's all here. Look, tons of stuff. Be careful as you're going up the hill because there can be a pack of wolves. It seems they've been given some mercy. So we'll go ahead, we'll rest at this site of grace. And now we will grab this, which is going to be a stone key. So I'm sorry if you picked that to start with, but we already have one in the bank, which is cool. Next we're going to exhaust this lady's dialogue. And you'll already know this, but by the time you get her saying this stuff, she will have given us a new summon. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to put that in my right quick slot. Just because I use these for different things depending on what it is that I want. The wolves are probably the best all-rounders, but they're expensive. The jellyfish is a little bit tanky, but it's not amazing, but it does have the ability to place poison on enemies, and if you can manage that correctly, it is a game changer against a lot of enemies, particularly against the wood sentinel, which we're going to be using it for. So I think that is probably where we're going to wrap up episode 1. Fairly shortly then, we are going to be moving along this road here to the east, where we are actually going to pick up our 100% block shield, as well as find another NPC. Not too important for me, but maybe for other people that want them, as well as a lot of other cool stuff for setting yourself up for success. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.